Hey everyone, it's JT. Welcome back to another live stream where today we are going to be talking about the number one tip for beating age discrimination in 2020. So while this live stream is open to everyone, it's really dialed in and focused today for people over the age of 40. That being said, if you're under the age of 40, if you're a millennial, you still may want to listen to this because some of this information could apply to you in the next decade or so. So I hope that you will stay tuned for this really important session. Again, I know this is a sensitive topic. We've had a lot of requests for this, so I want people to have an open mind and really try to listen today to what I share, because sometimes you want to shoot the messenger, and I'm just going to be delivering some information that might be a little hard for people to hear, but it's important that you listen to it, especially if you are over the age of 40 and struggling to find work right now. So let's talk about that, shall we? But before we get started, just a reminder, we are actually streaming. Always so exciting. We're streaming on 5 different platforms right now. Welcome to everyone out there. But the only way you can get your questions answered today is if you're following me on LinkedIn. It's just the way that works. LinkedIn, we're streaming on that platform. So if you go over to my profile page on LinkedIn and you click the follow button, it will then give you the ability to watch the live stream there and be part of the comments, which my team is pulling, my teammates are pulling for me. So just so you know, that's how it works. You're certainly welcome to watch it on all the other channels that we're streaming on, but we are not taking questions there. We are only taking questions here on LinkedIn, okay? All right, and that's enough for the housekeeping. Let's get down to the business of talking about age discrimination. Really serious topic, I know. And I just, again, I'm just going to stress, please keep an open mind. So for starters, I want to engage everybody in this conversation that's listening today. I want you to tell me the number one thing how you feel when it comes to age discrimination. When you think of this term, what comes up in your mind? What's the reaction? What's the first word that comes to your mind when you think about it? And I want you to pop that in the chat. I want you to be really honest with me about how you're feeling about age discrimination. So everybody do that for me to get started, because I want to talk to you about the wisdom tax. This is the first aha moment that I want you to have. Maybe you've heard me talk about this before. This is something that I coach heavily inside the Work It Daily platform. We have a lot of people over the age of 40 who join us and say, you know, JT, I never had a problem getting a job before. I always was able to get a job. So when I lost my last job, or I quit my last job, or whatever it was, or, you know, maybe you're still in a job and looking for a new job, I never dreamed it would be difficult. I just assumed it would get easier and easier. Why is it so hard right now? And the immediate assumption is age discrimination, especially if you're getting constant rejections, or if you're going on interviews and you're feeling like the oldest person in the room and then you never hear back, those sorts of things. You can start to draw conclusions that it is age discrimination. And we're going to talk a lot about why there's a good chance that it is today. Right? I call it experience discrimination, and experience comes with age, right? I like to use the term experience discrimination because I think that's a more objective way to look at it than just saying your age. Because, you know, just because you're older doesn't mean that you're not hireable. It has a lot more to do with the perception of your experience. So let's talk about that. That's the wisdom tax that I'm referring to. The wisdom tax is this natural belief in our society that the older you get and the more experience you have, the wiser you have become about your career. We have painted an entire societal impression around this. Movies are written about this. There's always the sage, wise person. You know, the wizard is never a 21-year-old. Harry Potter really broke the mold on that, right? But honestly, we have this belief that older equals wiser, correct? Let's face it. So if we're all making that assumption, then you are being, right out of the gate, you are being analyzed and assessed and judged because they think, well, you're older, you're wiser, you should have more figured out. You know what you don't want in a job, you know what you do want in a job, and frankly, you should know how to work in an environment and get hired. Interesting, right? And you're thinking, sure. I actually, JT, that's what I thought would happen too, because I didn't know how to get a job when I first started in my career. And then I learned and I got jobs and I built experience up and I have all this experience. So yes, I think that I do know what I'm doing. And so it can't possibly be me because I'm doing everything right, everything that I've learned, all the wisdom that I've gained over the years. So it's got to be age discrimination. They are discriminating against me because I'm doing everything right. Yes? Does that sound familiar? It does. That's how we think about this. This is how we were taught to think about this. This is what we come to believe. But there's a problem with that, folks. 50% of the workforce today are millennials. More than half, really. And that's only getting bigger and bigger. And guess what? That includes recruiters. Over half the workforce is younger than us. and has a very different mindset. So while you're thinking it should be easier and I should be in demand because I have all this experience and I did what they told me to do and I climbed in my career, this all should get easier. It's not, because we're not looking at the bigger picture of what's happening right now. So I always talk about the law of supply and demand, and people get really upset about that. But the first reality is that with half of millennials in the workplace now taking up the workplace, there are more of them available who, in the minds of businesses, can do it better, faster, cheaper. That's just a reality that you are now up against. And the bigger thing that is going on right now to really exacerbate this is why I wanted to talk about this in 2020. The OK Boomer movement, that is a direct reflection of a group of millennials who for 10 years got bashed. And now the oldest of them in the workplace are 38 years old. So what you've got is a group of people who were harassed and humiliated and bashed and told they were to amount to nothing. They were lazy, they were entitled, they were this and they were that. And they slowly but surely gained experience. And they now are a collective and they make up the majority. And they're saying, okay, Boomer, it's your time. Your turn to deal with what we felt. The tables have turned. People call it karma. And that is a harsh reality. And that is why we are seeing this increased feeling around age discrimination or experience discrimination, whatever you want to call it, right? They don't want to be told by boomers anymore what to do or how to feel or how to think. They're thinking for themselves. And so you are dealing with this projection, this assumption. You're being put into a category. You're being lumped together with every other boomer. And there's this natural initial bias around you because of it. This is how it works. And this is really scary and frustrating and hard to hear, right? And I know that you just go, but I have a livelihood. I need a job, you know? Yes. And this is how this generation felt when they were getting out of school filled with college loan debt and everyone telling them that they were worthless and that they were lazy and they were entitled and all of that, right? So now we're feeling it on the other side. The thing you have to understand is that recruiters are technical buyers in the hiring process. So they can't get you the job. No recruiter can come in and say, you're it, you're the winner, you get the job. But they can definitely screen you out. As a technical buyer, their job is to assess whether you are a fit. And so as we're going to learn in the rest of this training, a lot of what I'm going to talk about is you stepping back and thinking about rebranding yourself and branding yourself in a way where a recruiter, maybe half your age, is willing to screen you in instead of screen you out. And to do that, you really have to open your mind. You really have to look at this situation differently. So I want to just stop there for a second and ask, does that make sense to everyone? These are the realities that workers over 40 are facing. This is what's happening, like it or not. And we have to accept that everything that, we ever believed about, growing in our career and it getting easier doesn't work that way anymore. And on top of that, you have a very specific generation of people who now control the workforce, who are, they have long memories and they're showing their reaction and their resentment to how they were treated. Recruiters hear what they see. That is a lesson. That's actually a quote from Doris Day. People hear what they see. It's a very famous quote from Doris Day. I just adapted it for today's session. Recruiters hear what they see. So what you're going to learn is that if you are an active job seeker over the age of 40, appearances, how you look, how you talk, how you act, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your entire approach to job search is being evaluated through the lens of somebody who is younger than you and who has a natural resentment towards older individuals. So that is something you have to think about. And this is usually where a lot of older workers get really mad and say, it's not fair, JT, this is ridiculous. They should, respect my knowledge. They don't know what I went through. This is so hard. I hear you. We're going to talk about that in a second too. Your mind is racing right now because it's very scary. We're really, really afraid. And when we're afraid, fear is anger. Anger turned outward is just really fear, right? When we're backed into a corner, fight or flight. So I have a lot of people over the age of 40 right now voicing their anger And it's really coming from a place of fear. And I get it. And we're going to talk about that more in a second too. So here's my number one tip. If you want to turn the tables in 2020, if you are over 40 and you want to find a new job and stay relevant and not deal with the wisdom tax, right? This idea that, well, you're wiser, you should know, and not deal with experience discrimination, age discrimination, whatever you want to call it. You have to 100% adopt a growth mindset. And again, this is where I have a lot of people over 40 go, JT, of course I have a growth mindset. Right. Let's talk about that a little bit more. So Carol Dweck did some very deep research. She wrote a book on this. It's well worth the read. I strongly encourage you to check it out, on the differences between a growth and a fixed mindset, and how people with a growth mindset are far more successful and satisfied in life. I work literally personally one-on-one inside the Work It Daily program with hundreds right now of people over the age of 40. I work with our executive group. And so many of the time they come in and they say, I totally have a growth mindset. Oh yeah, I know all about it. And then we do the test. And what we find is they have more of a fixed mindset than they realized. And I'm going to bet today that a lot of you out there also fall in that category. Okay. So a fixed mindset is avoiding challenges, giving up easily due to obstacles, see effort as fruitless, ignore useful feedback, and are threatened by others' success. So think about that. You're going, that's not me, but let's talk about that. So I've got over 40 workers today who are saying, I spent the whole first half of my career. I don't want to, I just kind of want to collect a paycheck. I don't want to have to keep growing. This is good enough. I just want to be able to stay where I'm at. I've had so many people say, JT, just help me find a job so I can bang out 5 more years and retire. That's avoiding challenges. Gives up easily. This is about making excuses. So, okay, it's not me. It's age discrimination. I can't, I'm being rejected. It's got to be them. It can't possibly be me and that I'm doing something wrong. Seeing effort as fruitless. It shouldn't be this hard, JT. Why did I work so hard in my career to get to this point? Why should it be so hard? Why should it be harder for me to get a job now? Ignoring useful feedback. Telling people that they have to have a more youthful approach to their job search. You should see the pushback I get. Oh, that's not fair. I should just be able to be me. And this is crazy. Look, don't shoot the messenger. Again, if this is feedback that could potentially help you, be open to it, explore it. And then lastly, being threatened by other people's success. So why do we have so many people so angry that the younger workers are now coming into their own and taking management roles? And I've had people say to me, oh my gosh, and I got there. This is true. So many people say to me, well, JT, I went on this interview and obviously everyone there was half my age and the manager was clearly 20 years younger than me. And it was so clear that she was threatened by my success. It was so clear that the only reason they didn't want to hire me is she was afraid I could do her job better than she could. Really? Wow. Just listen to that for a second. Just listen to that. Talk about being intellectually superior. Talk about being cocky. You are exactly what they said about the OK Boomer movement when you're responding like that. When you have a growth mindset, you're open. You're embracing challenges. You're recognizing the landscape today, the realities today. Okay, half the workforce is millennials. I need to adapt how I connect, how I network, how I present myself, how I communicate with them. I need to adapt to them. Not them adapting to me. See the difference? Persistent despite obstacles. Okay, this is new. This is a new set of circumstances. I need to learn and grow and try things differently. Seeing this as mastery. How many of you are saying, I'm there. I don't want to master anymore. Career is never ending. If your career isn't growing, it's dying. There is way more to master, like working with people that are younger than us and staying relevant. That is something you need to master. That's not something you earn. It is something you need to master. It's a skill. Learning from criticism. Again, being open to other people's points of view, especially people younger than you. I've had so many people say, well, I'm not going to listen to them. They're 20 years younger than me. What do I care? Okay, that's fine. But if that person can help you get a job and they're giving you some valuable feedback and your answer is they're beneath you because they're younger than you, not good. And lastly, being inspired by others' success. How about we celebrate the fact that these millennials are innovative and creating new businesses and helping these businesses thrive, and that they might have just as much to teach us as we do them. Totally different approach. And when I see people truly adopt the second side, not only does their whole strategy change, but their whole demeanor and attitude changes too. You are putting, with a fixed mindset, you are putting way too much pressure on yourself. And that's where that anxiety and that anger and that fear comes from. And I've got another slide to show you that. It's not as clear. It's a little bit blurry because I tried to make it bigger. But the fixed mindset is ignoring constructive criticism. I have a negative internal dialogue with myself. So, I'm criticizing and negative and looking at the bad side of everything in this situation. I don't like to ask questions because I don't want to sound stupid. Huge thing I see over 40. Because again, the wisdom tax, we feel like we're supposed to know everything. And if we don't, we're going to look foolish. We say, I can't a lot. So yeah, I couldn't do that. Like I couldn't do that now. Look at me, I'm 40. I can't do this. Look at me, I'm 50. They give up quickly. So they shut down quickly. So, you don't have one good conversation with a company and all of a sudden it's the company's fault and age discrimination and I'm not going to try there anymore. Instead of figuring out a long-term strategy to build a relationship with that employer. Avoiding challenges. Don't need to say more than that. Feeling threatened by the success of others, like I said, and I don't want to look like a failure. So I'm doing everything in my power to look cool, look like I've got my stuff together. But in reality, I'm falling apart inside because I'm scared. I have a lot to lose. What I thought would work isn't working. Everything I ever believed is falling away from me. This is a petrifying time in my life, but I'm the older person and I'm supposed to look like I have it all together. That is what's going on right now with so many people when it comes to age discrimination. And I wanted to show you this bell curve because this is really the core of it. When you are young and you first graduate, it's hard. You get a lot of rejection, you get a lot of criticism, but honestly, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. There's only one way to go, up, right? And we know that. We know that as older workers. When we get to the mid-level of our career, we start to have some things that we want to hang on to, but there's still so much more upside to push ourselves. So we're getting some experience now. This is where the millennials are starting to hit their sweet spot. They're getting their confidence. They're taking on more strategic roles, management roles. They're being entrusted with things. They're, again, realizing, oh, I have good ideas. I know what I'm doing. I can make this work. So that's what you've got going on, all on that side of the bell curve. And then you've got the older workforce, the later stage career folks, who all they're thinking about is, I don't want to lose what I have. I don't want to lose my home. I don't want to lose my car. I don't want to lose my savings. I don't want to lose. I'm scared. I have way more to lose than that other side. And that's where this fear is coming from. And the fear shows. The fear and the anger, that's what's coming across. The problem is that nobody's feeling sorry for that generation because in the minds of the younger workers, you had your chance, right? They're thinking you had your chance. You sat where we are today. You had your chance to build your career and figure things out with your finances and get where you are today. And candidly, you're older, so you should know what you want and you don't want, and you should know how to make this work. We're the ones that didn't have the knowledge and the skills. We're the ones still climbing the curve. You're on the other side of it. You should know better. So we've got all the sides sitting in their own sandbox, so to speak, looking at the others and going, you know what? I'm focused on me. This is my world. I don't care about you. I don't care about you. I care about me and my world. So you're not going to see a lot of empathy and understanding and appreciation for your situation from over half the workforce. That's the reality. And that's what really scares us. I'm just going to stop there and say, take a deep breath. And I hope you're doing okay with this because it's a lot to take in. If you're understanding what I'm saying right now, give me a big yes in the chat, all right? Because now we're going to talk about very simply what it's going to take to turn this situation around. And the good news is you can absolutely positively do that. I see it every single day. I just have to get you to a place where I hit you so hard between the eyeballs today with your fixed mindset that I crack it open and I get you to realize it's time to grow. It's time to let go of your ego. Let go of your pride, admit your fear, admit what's going on here, and open your mind to what's going to have to happen in order to get what you want, okay? Here it is, very simple. The 4-step solution that we use inside Work It Daily to help over 40 workers go from I'm dealing with age discrimination to, oh my gosh, I'm getting job interviews. It comes down to a rebrand of your mind and your career tools. So the first thing on this is to replace your frustration with curiosity. Every time you get angry and you react and you're upset about what's happening to you, you need to take a deep breath, maybe grab a journal, piece of paper, whatever, and say, let me get curious about this. What's really going on here? My goal today with this presentation was to get you curious about what's really happening, looking at it from a bigger picture. You have got to get curious about what the roadblock is, why you're reacting the way you're acting, why you're feeling the way you're feeling. You're not going to change this negative talk that's going on in your head, this emotional, visceral, negative reaction, which is totally hurting your career and your brand, because trust me, people see it, hear it, understand it. You're not going to fix that until you take a deep breath and get curious. The second thing is you need to practice intellectual humility. I know. You were told, climb the ladder, work hard, gain experience, and your career will get better. It'll get easier. Nobody mentioned the cliff. Nobody mentioned the cliff. When I grew up, everyone said, you're just going to go here, here, and here. We're always going to earn more money. We're always going to have more opportunity. Everything's going to be great. Nobody mentioned the bell curve. Nobody mentioned the cliff. So a lot of us can have this intellectual superiority because that's what we were told. When in reality, we need a lot more intellectual humility. We don't know it all. In fact, the older we get, the less we know because we realize how much more there is to learn. And that just because we have some information doesn't mean we're better than someone else. That's a very competitive mindset. And the millennials were raised in a team mindset. They play on a team. They serve one another. Their definition of success is when I help other people feel better about themselves. Now, I'm not the best. I want to be part of the best. And that requires a lot of intellectual humility, which they have a lot more of than the older generations. This is a trait, right? We were trained to try to be intellectually superior, but that's very passé now. So your whole strategy on your resume and your cover letter, your LinkedIn profile, your interview prep, your networking has to have that intellectual humility, really toning it down. Less me, look at me, more you, let's talk about you, right? Ask, don't tell. This is a big one. When you get over 40, there's this natural desire to go into interviews and want to quote unquote nail it. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to tell them that I can do this and I can do this and I can do this and I can do this. And I get where it comes from because 20 years ago, when you were first looking for a job and you had no experience and you had no value, it's kind of like when you first learned to drive, you think you know how to drive. And then a year or two later, you realize you were such a bad driver and that you got much better over time. Same thing happens. People over 40 get into an interview and they're like, oh my gosh, I remember I used to come to interviews and I didn't even know what to say and I didn't have anything to point to. Now I can tell them I can do this. I'm a jack of all trades. I'm a Jill of all trades. I can do everything. Sounds great to you, but on the receiving end, the millennials, the other individuals, you sound like a know-it-all. It sounds like snake oil sales because you're saying you can do everything. Nobody trusts that anymore. And you're dominating the conversation. You're telling, you're not asking. So you have to learn how to flip the switch once you get over a certain age and really create an opportunity to use that intellectual humility and tone down your answers and ask more questions and allow them to talk and engage with you so that they can see, wow, this person knows how to talk as part of a team, knows how to collaborate, isn't going to be competitive, isn't going to try to dominate, which is a natural concern because of the bias they have towards boomers, because of the way boomers, their parents, and everyone else in society treated them when they were younger. So you've got to disrupt the mindset of that person because there's a natural bias going on. And the way you do that is by not acting like a boomer. It's by asking questions and showing intellectual humility and feeling like someone they can collaborate with. That's timeless. And then the last one is to update all your tools and job search strategy to reflect that. So we've talked about that here before. We'll talk about it again. I have people come into my program. I'm being discriminated against for my age. Okay, let me see your resume and your LinkedIn profile. So they send me both. I open up the resume and I'm visually overwhelmed. It's paragraph after paragraph in 8-point font. It's 4 pages long. And they're basically telling me they are the best thing since sliced bread. They've, cured everything. They're an innovative self-starter with exceptional time management and productivity skills, a proven leader and guru. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I can tell you right now, recruiters are already skeptics. But when I get something like that in a fancy font, it screams ageism. This is an old, outdated, self-important, braggy person, narcissistic, and probably desperate at the same time. So your resume needs a total overhaul. The older you get, the more experience you have, the simpler and cleaner and easier your resume should be to read. You should have a lot of white space. You should be able to dial in, know exactly what your specialties are. Again, that wisdom tax, it needs to present. It needs to present youthful, clear, fun, easy to understand. So that when somebody opens it up, they're not automatically assuming based on your old school font and your old school resume format that you are in your 60s. That's just the truth, folks. Remember, keep an open mind. Same thing with LinkedIn. I get on LinkedIn, they're writing in the third person, their picture is super formal, the about section's an epic novel, the work history is paragraphs long. Not going to read it. Same impact as the resume. Not youthful, not aware, self-aware of what the trends are in the marketplace right now. Your resume and your LinkedIn profile are teaser copy. You give just enough information to get them to want to pick up the phone and call you. That's how you know you've done your tools correctly. Too much information, it's overkill. Interview, I already hit on that. Ask, don't tell. Don't get in there and try to oversell yourself. Not good. That whole process. Networking events, the same thing. Are you going in and saying, I only want to hang out with the older people? You should be walking right up to the younger people and starting a conversation with them, because most older people aren't. Most older people made fun of them. Now, all of a sudden, you're interested in talking to them, learning more about their work, what they do, respecting where they got in their career. You've got to change the mindset. You've got to disrupt the thought process. You got to get the bias removed by showing them you aren't the things that they think you are. Again, that goes back to it's on you. And this is what most people over 40 don't want to hear, because again, you've got a fixed mindset. It's supposed to get easier now, JT. The jobs are supposed to just fall in my lap. They should just know those things. I don't want to have to make the effort. It doesn't work that way, folks. It doesn't. Here's the upside though. In my experience, once you start to learn these things, so it's very fun when I work with executives and I show them the before and the after, and they just see how much more current their brand looks, how much more dialed in they are. They get this sudden boost. Oh, I can do this. And hey, I get this now. I want to go out and just talk to other people regardless of their age. I want to have meaningful conversations. You have got to get re-inspired again in your career. You've got to get excited about growth and continuing to grow as a professional. And once you get a makeover, sort of a career tools makeover, that'll give you a little energy boost around that, because it's going to happen. You're going to have to disrupt the thought process if you want to compete today. That is the reality. All right. That was a lot to take in today. I hope that made sense to everyone. Again, my number one tip for beating age discrimination in 2020 is owning the fact that you have a fixed mindset. You've got to switch to a growth mindset, and you need to look at these 4 things here, the solution, which I'm going to leave up on the screen for a little bit, and really think about and embrace the idea of changing how you're approaching this entire job search, how you're approaching the people you work with. You have to, or the age discrimination will continue and you won't get the results you're looking for. Okay, awesome. All right, so we're going to take some questions now. A reminder, we're taking questions off the LinkedIn live stream. My team is going to pop those up here for me now. While I'm waiting for that, I just want to say, tell me what was the biggest aha moment you had today. I want you to own it. What's the big aha moment you had today regarding age discrimination in 2020? I want to see that in the comments below, okay? Awesome. All right, so I'm going to take some questions. Let me pop my glasses on so I can read it here. Nick says, with all due respect, the system needs to change, not the candidates. Candidates cannot change their age or easily hide it, as some imagine. In addition, we are currently in the era where workforce includes 6 decades of skilled and educated labor. So, Nick, when you say the system, I'm just going to say, I'm going to challenge you here. That's just such an easy and sweeping comment to say right now. So that is absolutely an easy thing to say. The system needs to change. Therefore, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't fix my situation. And I know you didn't mean it that way, but I'm glad you said this, because I get that a lot. Let's blame the system. It's the system's fault. The moment we get to push the blame in another direction, we don't have to take any ownership for our situation. I'm here to tell you this, folks, take full ownership. I am 52 years old, right? I have more experience than some people. My situation is such that it is harder for me to get a job, but I am going to figure this out, because if I own the situation, I can change the outcome. Saying that it's the system is essentially saying I have no control and therefore I can't win. And I don't want that attitude. That's a negative and defeatist attitude. So I get what you're saying. And of course, we'd love to see the system change, but that's not going to help you right now. Everyone listening to this, what's going to help you right now is doing something about it for yourself. You want results? Don't wait around for the system to change. It's not going to happen. You have got to take ownership and do this. And this is what I'm talking about with growth mindset. Really, really important. So I'm glad you asked that. Scott says, how do you drive home that being in your 40s still means that you have 20 more years to work? Some people say your runway is too short. So this is Scott. This is such a great example of what I mean. Ask a question. Why do you think my runway is too short? Why do you feel that 20 years isn't enough to grow? Why do you think I need 30 to 50 years? Ask the question. Don't tell them you're wrong. No one wants to be told they're wrong. If you get some kind of objection like that, everyone, ask the question, why do you think that way? Why do you feel that way? Get at it. Find out what they're saying. And then ask another question. Well, what if I was able to overcome those things? Wouldn't it make sense? Or what if I was able to show you that you could have that value and I could pick up speed faster? You can then ask the questions, but don't tell them. They're not going to listen to the tell mode. They are going to have to answer the question if you ask it. And I found over the years, and this is a basic sales technique. If you ask any salespeople in the house, they'll talk about it. When you get an objection from a potential customer, you're supposed to see the objection as a question. So if they say, oh, we couldn't do that, you have to say, why? Tell me more. Explain to me why. And allow them to talk through their thought process, because the more information they give you when they give you an objection like that, the more questions you ask, the more you're going to see where their thought process is misguided and where you could potentially insert a piece of information or knowledge that would disrupt that mindset. See what I'm saying? So ask, don't tell. Great example on how to use that there. Thank you, Scott. Michael says they look at me as if I don't have any energy and that someone younger would have. How do I combat this? Again, Michael, like, why is the energy important to them, do you think? And you may not be able to ask that in an interview, but I think you need to go and grab some millennial friends. You know, if you've got kids that have millennial friends, sit down and say, talk about energy with me. Why does the energy thing matter? Why is it so important? And what you'll find, I think, is that they're just looking for someone to match their energy and style. So, you know, they're excited. They have enthusiasm. When you don't have enthusiasm because you've seen it all, you've done it all, and you've kind of lost your luster for life, nobody wants to be around a Debbie Downer. I think you're going to find that the energy thing has a lot more to do with the enthusiasm factor, as opposed to, that won't work. Here's why that doesn't work. Oh, been there, done that. I mean, how many of you are guilty? And I am so guilty of it in this office. So I'm the worst offender, but says, well, wait till you're 52. I probably have said that a million times. It's not the right thing to say to a room full of people under the age of 30, right? No, I'll let them experience when they get to be 52. So totally think about that, folks. Think about how what you're saying lands, because that's really what they're saying in those situations. What about Gen X? We're between boomers and millennials. Yes. So Shill, I'm a Gen Xer. I totally get it. We are the sandwich generation. There's 70 million baby boomers, 77 million millennials, and there's only 46 million Gen Xers. So we are stuck between this. I find that Gen Xers are in the unique position to be the big sister or the big brother, which is kind of nice. So you still need to have the strategies I'm talking about here today, though, because it's not going to go away. The fact that as you get older, you're going to have to work with more and more of the younger generation. It's just law of supply and demand, doesn't change. That's why I was saying today, even if you're not in your 40s yet, you'd probably want to hear this information. Let's see. So how can these 50% be millennials when credible statistics show that adults don't reach maturity till age 25? Well, Nicholas, unfortunately, they count it when they start working in the workforce. So it's not about age. It's about when they enter the workforce, which is usually after high school, unless, of course, they went to college. So that's why they're counting it. The moment they enter the workforce, it counts. And that's why that number is 50% and getting higher. Janello says, what about when your view about people always think you are younger than your age? When they only see youthful exterior, think you should still be doing hours of work as a 25-year-old when you're already done many years of work and being 40-ish yourself. Okay, so the question here is they're equating with performance with time. So for some places, that's what it's about. Performance is time. You know, we want to be successful, so we want to put in more hours to be successful because I'm in my 20s and I have those hours available to me. But now I'm in my 40s and I've got kids and a spouse and a house and other responsibilities. I can't spend 50, 60 hours a week here. I totally get it. I get that. What you have to do is position yourself and say, yeah, I can't work the 50 hours a week, but here's how I promise you're going to get just as much out of me, if not more, because I can be more efficient in those 40 hours, right? So you're going to build your case around that. That being said, there's going to be some environments where you just shouldn't be there. You have to recognize environments that are just all about the let's work 50 or 60 hours, rah, rah, rah. If that's not for you, that's not for you. You got to find the right environment as well. But a lot of times it's because they lack the experience, but what they can give, what they can provide in terms of value is extra time, is extra hours. And you shouldn't disrespect that. It's just a different point of view. What you want to do is ask questions around it and say, okay, so let's say there's somebody who can't work 50 hours a week, who can only work 40 or 35. What should they look like? How can they create value so that you're happy with it? Again, you've got to start to ask and explore those questions. That being said, the millennial generation is about work-life balance. I'm excited to see that this generation is not usually about, hey, the way you define yourself is working 60 hours a week, right? They're not all about that. But if you're running into that situation, then that's probably not the right situation for you. Let's say. Lynn is saying, then you are also saying it to hiring managers from the same group that segmented you out. So Lynn, I think I'm understanding your question, but yeah, I mean, if hiring managers screening you out, it's usually because they're looking at you and saying, all right, the vibe you're giving is an older, outdated vibe. You're going to be high maintenance. You're going to be bossy. You're not going to work very quickly. You're going to be a bit of a Debbie Downer because you're going to tell us everything we're doing wrong and why things won't work. And that's just a drag, and that's not going to fit the culture. So you have to ask yourself, how am I presenting? How am I landing in my interviews, in my networking, in my materials? And how can I make that fresher or more updated so that when they meet with me, they're not making those assumptions about me, right? Let's see. Henry says, I think many Gen Xers like myself need to start our own businesses because millennials really don't want to compete against us. Thoughts? Oh, I totally disagree. I totally disagree. So there's been a big push in the millennial generation for entrepreneurship. And that really comes from Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg. That whole generation was raised that, hey, to be successful, you need to be an entrepreneur, which is very, very different than the Gen Xers and the baby boomers who were raised to go work in companies, get your gold watch, climb the corporate ladder, that sort of thing. So they're very entrepreneurial in nature. However, what we're finding as millennials get older is they realize, wow, this is we're being really hard on ourselves. Being successful isn't owning your own business. We can work for other people. We can be part of a team. Let's bring a lot of people together and build something together. That's where their teamwork kicks in. So I disagree. I see a lot of places where really talented millennials would love to collaborate with Gen Xers who have a bit more experience and ideas, the big brother, big sister concept, and all come together and work together. So no, I don't think that at all. I have to be honest. Let's see. Errol says the challenge is that millennial workforce is okay with working 60 hours a week and making their lives work. I don't mind working hard and well over 40 hours, but going on a 7 or 8 and leaving at 9 or 10 is tough for people over 40. So Errol, it's very interesting. Again, some millennials are doing that because that's what they have to offer. That's the kind of value they have to offer. And that's fine. You can't discredit that. At some point in time, they're going to be in the position that you're in, and they're not going to want to work those kinds of hours anymore, right? Don't discredit them. Don't be upset. Support them. But at the same time, if you make them heard, if you accept and appreciate the value they're trying to give, and you recognize that openly, you can then ask them to recognize how you believe you bring value. No, I'm not in the same position as you. I'm not able to work 60 hours a week because I do have to get home to additional commitments. But here's what I can offer you in return. Here's what you're going to get: consistency, reliability. I'm going to be able to, be efficient and give you insights and the things that you need even though I can't be there 60, 70 hours a week. How do you feel about that? Because again, if you open it up in dialogue, if you ask them questions and you explore each other's needs and what they're looking for and what's important to them and why, they're going to be more inclusive. But when you judge them, they judge you, right? Judge and be judged. So this is what I meant about stop with the frustration, get curious, dial down the intellectual superiority, dial up the intellectual humility. Converse with them, talk to them, ask, don't tell. This is the thing that has to shift in the relationships with the millennials, and you will get different results. You absolutely will. Awesome. Does this apply to creative people too? Are the rules the same? Absolutely. Absolutely. Chrissy asks, how do you show intellectual humility on a resume? Very simple, Chrissy. You take out all the subjective text. Any place where you're using adjectives or adverbs to hype yourself, that is you pushing and being salesy. You got to strip it down and get it just to the facts. And the beautiful thing about this, and this is why I love to do it with executives and work it daily, is they tend to be super wordy. And when we take that all out and we strip it down to the facts and the numbers, they're like, oh my gosh, it's so much clearer what I got done. And it's not, I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything. It's just facts. Exactly. And the facts are impressive. So that is why you need to learn to do that. Intellectual humility is key in 2020. Let's see. What's your advice on elevator pitches, Melanie asked. So when it comes to elevator pitches, it's really about talking about your passion around a problem you love to solve that's bigger than yourself and how you like to solve it. So elevator pitches aren't how great am I and this is all I got done. Elevator pitches today are, hey, this is the problem in the universe that I'm really passionate about, that I want to see solved, that I'm focused on. And this is the methodology or the skills or the belief I have that I'm using to try to solve that. And that's why I want to be involved in this mission. That's why this is important to me. It's all about purpose. So mission statements these days, elevator pitches are all about purpose as opposed to, hey, here's why I'm great, right? Yell and sell does not work in an elevator pitch anymore. Now it is again about that passion and purpose and connecting the dots for them. Let's see. Nicholas says, sorry, but he says, but they reject me when I talk about my sons having the same interests that they've got. So you're implying that it's my fault that I'm in my 60s. See, this is what I mean, Nicholas. We can go back and forth on this all day, but technically you're proving my point. So, for you to say, oh, you have the same interest as my son, don't say that. You don't have to point that out. How about you just focus on the interest itself? Tell me about it. Why do you like that so much? That's amazing. And then share something that you're interested in, right? Some kind of interest. Again, focus more on them. It's this thing that, okay, so it's my fault that I'm 60. Listen to that. Listen to yourself. Who's more evolved here? You're trying to demand respect instead of earn it. And you're thinking, I shouldn't have to earn it because they're younger than me. That's what you're thinking. And that's flawed thinking. That is fixed thinking. That's scary thinking. You have to get curious and respect that they're a human and they're a worker and they happen to be working at a company you'd like to work at. So let's have a conversation. Let's get to know each other. Let's be friends. Let's be pleasant. I want to learn more about you. I want to be curious. You might be my potential coworker someday. And stop with these preconceived notions. You're going in trying to set yourself up. You're going in trying to prove that you're going to be discriminated against. So you're going to get discriminated against. Was it Henry Ford that says, if you believe you can do it or you can't do it, you're right? That's what I'm seeing a lot of people come into. And I'll tell you, I've seen it firsthand. We had somebody come in. There's a woman and she was in her 40s and she was group interviewing, and other people in the particular group that she came in were younger than her, right? In their late 20s. And the moment she came in and scanned the room, she went from smiles and open to the whole time in the interview. It was so awkward. And I watched our whole team try to draw it out of her, help her relax, really trying to make her feel better. But it was so evident that she couldn't get over her age discrimination. And you think, right? You think that you're not doing that when you go into these interviews. You are, folks. You're giving it off in what you say and how you act and your body language and your facial expression, because you're setting your, I'm going to get rejected. It's age discrimination. I can't win here. I can't win here. Fixed mindset. That's a fixed mindset. You're failing before you walk in the door. You got to stop. If you want to win, open mind. These are just people. I don't care what their age is, and they don't care what my age is. We're here to talk about a job. We're here to talk about a problem. They have a concern. I'm the consultant. I'm the business of one. I need to ask them a lot of questions. I need to learn more about them. I need to understand where they're coming from, right? And then when it makes sense, I'll share what I know, but I'm going to be intellectually humble about it because I know I'm not perfect. I know there's a lot of competition. So I'm going to be here. I'm going to make friends. I'm going to figure this out. Different mindset, different approach. You have got to do it or suffer the consequences. That's just it, folks, right? Because we can sit here and blame the system all we want. I'll go right back to everything we said. Do you want to get hired? Do you want to work past this? Do you want to grow your career? Then keep an open mind and listen to what we're talking about today. Okay? Awesome. So what can you advise a boomer has been doing all these things you talk about? So, well, Brian, if you're doing all these things, are you doing enough of them? Right? Are you getting out there enough? Another big thing that I'm seeing with boomers today is that they're saying they're doing this stuff, but when I sit down and talk about their activity level, it's like, well, you know, I saw 2 jobs that were worthy of me this month. Well, did you network with the company and try to meet 10 people at each company? Well, no, that, you know, no, I've got to be careful. I don't want to look desperate. You want a job there. You got to meet people. So most boomers I know, they say they're doing these things. Again, Brian, I don't know your full situation. They're not doing enough of them. They're not getting out there because, again, it's their pride in the way. They don't want to go and do the hustle. They don't want to go and do all the work because it's work. And it's a lot more outreach than you think. It's a lot more networking than you think. It's a lot more connections than you think. Most boomers are feeling like, okay, I need to be so good at this that I'm going to nail it in the first try and I should be able to close the deal. And if I don't, well, then there's something wrong with me. No, this is a numbers game at this point, folks. You've got to do these techniques, but you've got to do them repeatedly. You've got to create more opportunities for yourself to do these things. So that's really, really key. David says, how do you recover your growth mindset? Very simple. Surround yourself with people with a growth mindset, David. Absolutely. It's just plain and simple. I mean, I'll give you an example. When people come into Work It Daily, when they join the platform, right? So we're a membership site and you join, you can get a phone app, you're part of a community. And in the executive community, we just don't tolerate it. There's no room for it. None of us, we all self-select that we're going to have a positive growth mindset. We're going to look at these things and try to figure them out. We're going to get better. We're going to try new things. We're going to share best practices. We're going to share small wins. We're going to help each other out and surround ourselves with the like-minded people. If you're hanging out with all the other people that are convincing that it's society and it's the system's fault and I can't win, there's nothing I can do, you're not going to get your growth mindset back. You have got to put yourself with other people who have a growth mindset. So first of all, David, pat yourself on the back because you're here. You're here listening to this today. Listening to the hard information, the hard advice, already you're a step in the right direction. Now go find more people who feel this way and make sure that if there's anybody in your life that's going the other way, you have to distance yourself from them. They are affecting your ability to get things done and to think in a right way. They're overriding your growth mindset and you've got to change that. All right. Michael says, how does someone show that they are fresh and not an old dog? So again, Michael, it's not as hard as you think. Having the right career tools updated to look fresh and current, seriously, the font, the layout, that sort of stuff, that's already a step in the right direction. Then getting on the phone screen and having the right attitude where you're not trying to oversell yourself, you're just listening, asking questions, being really curious, being enthusiastic. A question earlier, enthusiasm matters. So a lot of older workers are like, well, I don't want to look too enthusiastic. I'm going to look desperate. They want to hear your enthusiasm. They want to know that you care about the job. They want to know that you're as excited as they are about this stuff. So again, show that enthusiasm, show that interest. Absolutely. I see too many people trying to look cool and act cool because I'm over 40. It's not landing right. You got to change it. You got to get excited. You got to find your passion again. And one of the easiest ways, Michael, is to nerd out on a subject together. So go to a networking event that is about your industry or about something in your skill set or a technology or whatever it is, and talk to the younger people about it and ask their perspective. Why do they think this is good? What are they working on? What do they care about? Ask them. They have been fully ignored and judged and made fun of for a decade. Their natural reaction to you, even the first couple questions you ask, is going to be defensive. But if you want to change their mindset, just show an interest. Show an interest in what they're interested in. And guess what? They will return the favor. That's one of the nicest things about this generation. They are so polite. They will return the favor. You just got to extend the olive branch first. You really do. Awesome. Let's see. What do you see as the benefits to candidates, recruiters hear what they see? So the very simple truth is, if I see a current resume and a current LinkedIn profile, I'm less worried about your age because I know that you're staying up on the latest practices. When you aren't thinking about branding folks both online and in person, branding is a must-do these days. Brand or be branded. When you choose not to take ownership of your brand and decide what it says, you're saying you're not savvy, you're not staying up in the times, there's nothing impressive about you, or you've actually got something to hide. Those are all very bad messages. So that's why you have to think a lot more about your branding more than you ever did before. I've had people say to me, JT, it's just, had my head down. I've been doing my work. Why should I have to do all this? Because it's the new normal. It's the new reality. And if you want that great job, this is what you got to do, right? This is what you got to do. Let's see. So Milton says, how do you convince millennial age managers that you indeed can comfortably work with 20-something colleagues at an office? If you're a bachelor with no kids, can you, and how do you do this carefully, let hiring managers know somehow? I fall in that category as a Gen Xer. Should one be more relaxed in talking to hiring managers during job interviews? I've been, this advice was given to me years ago, told that I should be formal and professional in interviews. Yeah, so Milton, you have to be really careful because millennials are very HR sensitive, right? You've got a lot going on in the world right now about people being more sensitive to that. My advice is to not be overly casual in the interview. I'm also not saying be overly formal, right? I think you can be friendly without having to go down the path of, hey, I'm not married and I'm single. That would actually probably land wrong, just so you know. And I don't think that that really interprets that you can work with 20-somethings. That's not what this is about. Communicating effectively with 20-somethings and millennials is just saying, I respect their ideas, I respect their energy, and I want to work alongside them. I love their energy. I love their enthusiasm. I love looking at the world through their eyes. I'm understanding, I'm learning more, I'm growing as a person. That's what needs to come through in your interviews. So you need to say that. Say, I'm actually really excited. One of the reasons I'm really excited about this opportunity in this company is actually the youth factor here. So a lot of people, bright ideas, cutting edge technology. This is stuff that gets me excited. If my career isn't growing, it's dying. And even though I have experience, a lot of that experience, right, it falls away. And this is the truth. Our experience becomes less relevant as we get older. We have to keep getting relevant experience. Call that out. Say that. Say, I expect, well, I would want to really contribute here, but let me be the first to say that I'm expecting to learn way more. That I want to be around these individuals who can give me added perspective and insight, that this is exciting to me. This is what I want to be doing. That's what they need to hear. They want to hear you actually want to be around them because you want to learn and grow from them and collaborate from them. If you don't truly believe that, though, don't say it because it won't sound right. But if you do believe it, like somebody like me, I love being around people that are younger than me. I learned so much from them. They help me stay relevant, understand where I'm getting older and where I want to bring it back in and feel younger and be younger and think younger and do younger and grow younger, all of it. That is possible when you are working with younger people. But we have a lot of older workers that don't feel that way genuinely, and therefore that this advice would not work. But it sounds like for you, you are really interested in that. So you don't need to say, I'm single. You just need to say, hey, I get it. I have experience, but I want relevant experience. And coming here would give me that because I would be working with younger people with fresh ideas, new ways of doing things, really good with technology. I would want to make sure that I'm giving, as much as I can so that I'm exceeding your expectations. But I know for a fact that I would learn a lot here from these people. That's how you want to position that. But you got to believe it, which, kind of comes back full circle here, folks. If I haven't gotten you to rethink why it's important to befriend the millennials and why you need to start bridging the gap and really distancing yourself from the OK Boomer movement, you need to. But if you're not ready to do that, if you're still going to sit in your anger and your frustration, then most of what I'm saying today isn't going to work for you. You're not going to be able to get past it, which is another whole deal. Because again, you are literally sitting in fixed mindset. In fixed mindset, if you're not growing, you're dying. I'm just telling you right now. So when it comes to your career, a growth mindset is the way to go. Philip is saying, is age and experience discrimination less prevalent in smaller companies? Great question. And the answer is heck yeah, Philip. Great point. Absolutely. So when you're in a smaller company and it's all hands on deck, you just care about, can the person do the job? Now, I will tell you, somebody who is an older worker and has that older mindset, that is going to stand out much faster in a smaller environment as well. So one, you can overcome it faster if you can come into it with the techniques I'm teaching you today. But if you go into a smaller company and you are still acting in that old school way, that fixed mindset way, you won't last long because you're outnumbered and they're not going to want that there. You really have to go into that smaller unit and adapt and be part of that culture and the way that mindset is going on there. Okay. Very important that you do that. Let's see. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop there because, wow, that was a lot to take in. And I know there were a lot more questions. Here's what I need to say to everybody. So again, this was a lot to hear. If you need help, get help. Really get help with this. If you are listening today and going, okay, I have a fixed mindset. I've got some mental issues I need to overcome. I've got, career tools that aren't current. I've got a job search strategy. I'm hearing some things today that I didn't like, but I'm thinking they might be true. Get help. You can go out, you can buddy up, you can find help. Obviously, you can come work with us at Work It Daily. We literally work. We have thousands of people in the program now. A large number of them are over 40, and we're working with them every day, new people. Come join us. We want you. You go over to workitdaily.com and learn more. But, if you don't want to work with us, that's okay. I'm just saying, no matter what, you absolutely positively need to get help. Because if you could have fixed this by yourself by now, you would have. And as I said earlier to whoever the great person was that asked, you need to surround yourself. If you want to get your growth mindset back, if you really want to make change here, you've got to surround yourself with people your age that have the growth mindset. You've got to be talking to people that are working at great companies, that are collaborating with millennials, that aren't in the position you're in. You need to own your reality. I know it's scary. Don't be upset. This isn't anything they taught us in school. We're just suddenly the rules have changed. Everything's shifted. Don't get upset. Don't get frustrated. Deep breath. Let's go find answers. Let's go try some new things. Let's get your growth mindset back. Let's get you happier, Go find someone to help you with this. It's really, really important because it breaks my heart to hear so many people just so upset about age discrimination and it's society and it's the system and it isn't fair. That's pain. When people say those things, that's pain. When people are mean like that, that's pain. And that hurts me because I want you to feel better. And that's why I did today's session. So I'm really hoping, as hard as it was for people to hear this today, that it's starting to open up. Remember I said in the beginning that it's opening up your mind to, you know what, maybe JT's right here. It's not my fault, but let me own it so I can do something about it. From this day forward, I can go get my growth mindset back. I can update my career tools. I can surround myself with people. I can fix this. I can figure this out because you can. You absolutely, positively can. This is going to take more work than you probably thought. And it's going to take putting your ego aside and admitting that you're scared and but you can do this. Okay. Awesome. All right, folks. Thank you so much for coming by today for this live stream. Again, what was your favorite thing you heard today? How are you feeling about today? Please put it in the comments. I love to look at it. If you need help, of course, you know where to find us over at Work It Daily. But just do what you need to because you can do this. All right, you can do this. Okay, we will be back here tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about things you should not put on your resume. So I'm sure there'll be a little bit of a discussion around this as well when it comes to making sure your resume looks current. So that might be a good one to come back for. And don't forget, if you're not already, to follow me on LinkedIn so that you can get instant notifications when we're going live. And we have a new hashtag. It is hashtag JT Talks Jobs, JTTALKS JOBS, JT Talks Jobs. So be sure to follow that here on LinkedIn. That's how you get all of the streams. So you can go back if you ever miss a live event or you miss something. It's all going to be in the live stream with the JT Talks Jobs hashtag. So you can find that too. Okay. Awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you again. It's such an honor to be able to live stream here with you and provide this advice. I really wish you all the best. Don't give up. Growth mindset, because if you want to win, you know what you got to do. You got to work it daily. Awesome. All right, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.